One of Saramago's most notorious novels is The Gospel According to Jesus Christ, a book that was banned in Portugal for a time. And in it, Jesus wrestles not with the devil, but with a modern, power-hungry God.
Now grown up, Jesus is visited by God while out fishing in a boat. He wants to know how he is to fit into God's grand plan.
And what is this part you've reserved for me in your plan? That of martyr, my son. That of victim, which is the best role of all for propagating any faith and stirring up fervour. God uttered the words martyr and victim as if his tongue were made of milk and honey. But Jesus suddenly felt a chill go through his limbs. You promised me power and glory, stammered Jesus. And I intend to keep that promise. But remember our pact. You shall have them after death. What good will it do me to have power and glory when I'm dead? Well, you won't be dead in the absolute sense of the word, for as my son, you'll be with me, or in me. And my death, what will that be like? It is only fitting that a martyr's death should be painful, and, if possible, ignominious, so that believers may be moved to greater fervor and devotion. You will be the spoon I shall dip into humanity and bring out laden with men who shall believe in the new God I intend to become.
There were political consequences and religious consequences, and I think he wanted that. He was not afraid of it. He couldn't stop. He wouldn't stop, and he wouldn't think wisely about writing such a book in his popularity. But it was really a moment when Portuguese literature had its earthquake.
Soon after it was published in 1991, The Gospel According to Jesus Christ was nominated for entry into the Ariosto Prize, the European Union's literary award. But a few weeks later, Saramago was furious to discover that, under pressure from Catholic factions within the Portuguese government, the novel had been withdrawn from the competition.
There was a discussion in the parliament about this question, and the turmoil that this decision caused was extraordinary because it was the first and the only, at my knowledge, the only measure of censorship that was taken after the Revolution of '74.
Such an act of artistic repression could have been expected in the climate of Antonio Salazar's dictatorship. But The Gospel According to Jesus Christ was published nearly 2 decades after the fall of the Salazar regime, in an atmosphere of supposed freedom and democracy.
He could accept to live in a country where the thought and expression of thoughts is controlled, but he could not accept to go to a country where there is a total freedom. Such a measure could be taken against him.
In 1993, Saramago decided to move to Lanzarote in the Canary Islands.
The fact is that Saramago was not very comfortable in Portugal, also for the fact that he was feeling more and more that he needed to have an international career. And Portugal appeared to Saramago as if it was a very, very small country for his legitimate ambitions. Saramago changed very significantly, not only his way of writing, but especially the themes and the situations of his novels. Maybe this is due for the fact that he himself came to the conclusion that he should write a kind of novel which would be more acceptable by a huge public. His novels are not anymore about the history of the past. They are novels about the history of the future, anticipating situations that we will live in the future and maybe in the near future.
By 1998, Saramago had written 10 acclaimed novels. Just as his writing was evolving and his focus broadening through stories of a world in transition, the former barefoot, sun-blackened boy from Azinhaga was awarded the Nobel Prize, watched with admiration by his wife Pilar.
The fact that Portuguese literature was ignored all along practically one century was a scandal. And so the prize given to Saramago gained a special repercussion due to the fact to be the first one to have the prize. So it was acclaimed in Portugal.
Many people knew Saramago, but had never read any book. They read the novel. We sold between October and December of that year some 300,000 books, about something like that. And this is in Portugal. We are 10 million. So.
There was an immense crowd, an enormous crowd that acclaimed him in the streets of Lisbon. It was really a national event.
In many ways, Saramago is still the same journeyman writer and troublesome communist he always was. In personal terms, though, his Nobel Prize has had the effect of focusing the world's attention on everything he says and does.
Imaginemos que eu não seria prémio Nobel. Imaginemos que eu não seria lido, enfim, digamos, mais ou menos em todo o mundo. Eu diria exatamente o mesmo que estou a dizer. A diferença está em que, pelo facto de que eu diga, em 3 minutos dá a volta ao mundo, pois então, digamos, vai ser dito.
It isn't surprising that the publication of The Cave, his first novel since winning the Nobel Prize, was one of the most anticipated literary events of autumn 2002. The Cave sets the traditional ways of village existence against life in a sprawling residential shopping centre in the city. Just as Plato in the 4th century BC used his fable of the cave to show the difference between reality and our perception of it, Saramago's shopping centre stands for a world in which we mistake the appearance of life for real life. In the novel, Cipriano Algor is a village potter who has made his living selling handmade earthenware pottery to an immense shopping centre in the city. But the all-powerful centre has decided that its customers now prefer industrial plastic kitchenware. His livelihood under threat, Cipriano is faced with his deepest fear, being forced to leave the village, to live under the protection of the place he despises most of all.
At the end of the avenue, on the towering grey wall blocking the road, he could see an enormous white rectangular poster on which these words were written in letters of a brilliant, intense blue. Live in security. Live at the centre. The poster appears there from time to time, repeating the same words. Sometimes they show images of happy families, a 35-year-old husband, a 33-year-old wife, an 11-year-old son, a 9-year-old daughter, and also, but not always, a grandfather or grandmother of indefinite age, with white hair and a few wrinkles, all obliged to smile and reveal their respective sets of teeth, perfect, white, gleaming. Cipriano Algor took the invitation as a bad omen. He could already hear his son-in-law announcing, for the 100th time, that they would all go and live at the centre, as soon as he got his promotion to resident guard.
O livro não pode ser, enfim, eu não gostaria que o livro fosse entendido como uma apologia dos antigos tempos da vida tradicional e uma feroz crítica aos tempos de agora. Se o leitor se colocar aí, quer dizer, não me dá nenhuma satisfação. O que o livro diz, suponho eu, é outra coisa. Não podemos viver como Cipriano Algor. Já não se pode viver assim. Mas não deveria, mas a alternativa, mas o que nos ficou, o caminho por onde metemos e o caminho por onde estamos, não pode ser o do centro.